What I would fix if you came to me exhausted as a busy woman without telling you to stop what you're doing and overhaul your life over the next 6 months. So if you came to me exhausted, the first thing I would understand is that you're not just tired, you're overstretched, you're busy, you're responsible, you can't just stop, you can't leave your life, pack up for 6 months and just focus on yourself, right? You have responsibilities, you have things that you need to do, so you need something that works with your life, right? One of the biggest issues that I see for women is that they don't look for the right support because they can't stop, right? They have to keep going. They have to keep running their businesses, looking after their families. There is a lot that they juggle. And I think a lot of the information out there is like, particularly when you're heading into burnout and that exhaustion is like, oh, you really need a break. You really need to step back. And while that is true, sometimes we can't always do that, right? And so I really want to speak to that, right? If you know you can't walk away, but also the solution which you're currently doing is to just keep pushing through, right? That I'll slow down later or I'll wait till this passes. That is also not going to work because that is going to push you into burnout. So you don't need advice that tells you to just slow down or quit your job or do less, right? That's definitely not going to work for you. And you don't have a motivation problem, right? You are motivated, you're disciplined, you're capable, you don't lack willpower, and you don't have a time problem, okay? You've got a lot on, but you're very efficient, you're very organized, you're very productive. So exhaustion isn't about not having enough time. Exhaustion is about capacity, having reduced capacity. So the more tired and stressed that we are, our capacity shrinks. So you think about those days that you get a lot done, same 24 hours in a day, but there's some days you get a lot more done and some days you get less. So capacity on one day is a lot more, capacity on the other is a lot less, okay? And when it's less, we start to feel stressed and urgent and flustered and anxious and overwhelmed. So when I work with women, I want to look at what is the biggest return they're going to get with the least demand, with the smallest actions. So what are the quickest wins they're going to get? Because I know that implementing some simple habits can really start to shift your energy and the way that you feel without being so disruptive to your life, okay? Without feeling like another thing to do, without feeling overwhelmed, without feeling too much. So the first thing I would fix and I would address is regulating the nervous system. So when you look at where you are in this place, the reason why we become so exhausted is because of this, high levels of stress over time and stress hormones, which change other hormones, which break down key systems in the body. They create low energy or exhaustion, high stress and anxiety. They make our metabolism slow down, so we start gaining weight. So until the nervous system is regulated, there's no way anything is going to get you moving. Because when the nervous system is activated, your body thinks that you are in mortal danger. And when our stress response thinks that, it is designed naturally to forget about everything else in the body. Not everything, right? We're still breathing and our heart's beating, but we're not digesting, our hormones are not being balanced, our fertility goes offline. Like there's things that are not important when you're in mortal danger. And so it makes sense then to go, well, okay, let's get the body out of mortal danger so everything can get back online. Otherwise, all of your energy and resources are being hijacked for the nervous system. So it hijacks your energy, it hijacks your sleep, your digestion, increases anxiety, increases chances of depression, and it blocks your recovery. So I often will say that trying to throw supplements and extreme diets into the mix, or just trying one little habit or a breathing exercise, they're all great, but they're not going to regulate the nervous system, okay? And so therefore, it's like having one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake, and you're not really moving anywhere, right? So you're trying to put all this good stuff in, but the nervous system is just locked on, okay? And so that needs to be regulated and relaxed in order for your body to do at an extremely fast pace what it naturally does, which is go back to homeostasis, which is like heal itself. So one of the ways that I do this in my programs is really simple. No caffeine on an empty stomach, right? Caffeine is going to drive up that stress response, particularly if that's the first thing that you do. You wake up in the morning, you beeline to the kitchen and you have your coffee. That's definitely going to create a pattern for the day where the nervous system just stays locked on. The other thing that's really bad for increasing cortisol levels or stress hormones, which then locks on the nervous system, is looking at your phone as soon as you open your eyes in the morning, okay? This is the worst thing that you can do because there's going to be text messages on there, notifications, bad news, right? If you've got any news apps on your phone, it's never good. So really leave that till later. Allow your body to kind of start waking up without being frightened, without being shocked. So leave that, get an alarm, something else if you need to wake you up, keep the phone away, not in arm's reach. And, doing something as simple as that, having your breakfast first, coffee later, not grabbing your phone, that will already start to relax the nervous system, reduce those cortisol levels so that they're normal in the morning. So cortisol is naturally meant to rise. That gives you energy, gets you out of bed, gets you going. But it's those peaks, right, that when it goes up, you start to feel, oh gosh, I'm already under pressure, stress, rush, urgent. Your mental bandwidth shrinks, your capacity shrinks, your hormones are up, and you're just kind of operating at that pace, which, while it feels like things are happening, it's really the least productive state that we can be in. Right? And so just a few simple tweaks like that can start to change that stress hormone profile in the morning. The next thing I would look at is restoring mitochondrial energy. So with high stress over time, the mitochondria, which are the cells that produce our energy, so we have trillions of them, right? They're our superpower. They produce lots of energy, but with stress, they go into hibernation mode. So our energy production drops, we feel more tired, we've got a lot to do, so we try to push ourselves. That creates more stress because we don't have the energy to naturally and easily and effortlessly execute on those tasks, right? So we have less energy, less resilience, our stress tolerance drops, we become more stressed and anxious, and we don't have that mental energy or mental clarity. So chronic stress will affect mitochondrial function, so you start to feel tired and your stress tolerance drops. And so one of the simplest ways to start restoring the mitochondria, so we are looking again, we're still down-regulating or regulating the nervous system, but we want to put good nutrition into the body, like a healthy breakfast, having healthy meals throughout the day. And again, the trends out there for diet are extreme, right? Fasting and carnivore and keto, like they are all great for different phases, not all of them, but they can be helpful in different phases of life. But where you are right now, you really need to flood the body with nutrition. Okay, and so you need to make sure that you have a healthy breakfast with proteins, with carbohydrates, which help to again relax the nervous system, getting the mitochondria back online. And also something very simple is going for a walk in the morning as the sun is coming up. So just going for a sunrise walk. And that way you'd intentionally get the sunlight into the eyes, which starts to reset the circadian rhythm, which is really important for the mitochondria. Okay, so light is important to restore mitochondria, the cells that produce an endless amount of energy for us. And then I'll work on restoring other key systems that are a part of resilience and high performance and, increasing capacity and bandwidth. And so we're looking at blood sugar level regulations, regulating the HPA axis or the stress response system, gut health, liver health, thyroid health, all of that. But what I want to go into a little bit more is about mental bandwidth, because this is where you'll get the biggest gains. Because when we look at stress, we look at our life and our demands and our responsibilities, and we're like, stress is coming from my life. But it's what happens. Yes, there's certainly things that are very demanding in our life and very challenging in business and in life and in health and in family. But it's how we handle, like how we perceive that, what we do with that information internally, right? Do we catastrophize? Do we worry? Do we find it hard to let go? Do we overanalyze? Like all of that stuff that's happening in our head is what's actually driving more stress in the body. So the quickest gains that we can have is by easing that up. So increasing our mental bandwidth. So mental bandwidth looks like, so when we have high mental bandwidth, it's those days where you just feel like you can just get so much done. You just feel like you've got so much time. At the end of the day, you're like ticking things off your list. You're like, wow, I've just had such a productive day. You didn't feel urgent. It didn't feel rushed. Had time for a conversation, had time for a bit of a laugh. You're driving home, you're feeling pretty relaxed in the car, traffic, it doesn't matter, not a big deal, right? So really those high bandwidth days is where you have massive amounts of capacity to get everything done without feeling stressed. The low bandwidth days are the exact opposite. It feels like you've got so much to do in such a short time. It's urgent. There's pressure. You got to get your coffee in the morning. The woman's taking too long to make your coffee. You're driving through the traffic. You're like, oh my gosh, the traffic today is insane. You just feel like you're on the back foot, right? You're not as productive because you're not actually getting much done because you don't have that mental bandwidth or capacity, right? So it shrinks. So we get urgency, we get stress, we get anxiety, we get pressure, we get overwhelm. We're like spinning our wheels, but we're not really getting as much done. The high bandwidth days is when we get a lot done. The low bandwidth days, no. It just feels like there's a lot more on those days because we have a smaller container. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So obviously we want to get to those days of really high bandwidth, which is a natural state. Mental bandwidth collapses when your system is under chronic stress. Psychological stress, but also physiological stress. So missing meals, eating too much sugar, fried foods, takeaway, not adding the right nutrition to your body, blood sugar level fluctuations will really mess with mental bandwidth. So really, taking care of your nutrition is going to be a really big key because what you eat matters for your mental bandwidth, right? So because our blood glucose levels, because our brain feeds on glucose, what you're balancing your nutrition with during the day, so, proteins, carbs, and healthy fats, how often you're eating, what you're eating, the sources, right? The source of your carbohydrates or the source of your protein, like the quality of your food is really going to matter for your blood sugar levels, and it's really going to matter for your brain. It's going to matter for your mental bandwidth, your concentration, your mental energy. And so that's the difference between, these anxiety states as our sugar levels drop, we get into these it feels like anxiety, and we just don't have that mental bandwidth. Okay, so therefore we're not operating at our highest potential. So nutrition matters. Extreme trendy diets are not for this place, right? You really need to flood the body with nutrition. And then sleep to increase your mental bandwidth. So don't sacrifice on this one. Like, be really regimented and strict on this one. The power of 8 before 10 is what I often talk about, like getting 8 hours, going to bed before 10 p.m. That's the key, right? Those times are the key windows of deep sleep that are going to help to process your emotions. It helps to reset your brain so you start with a clean slate in the morning. So much more happens inside the body. But if you're not getting that proper sleep, that is just not happening, right? You're going to wake up and there's still mental noise and you're still feeling under pressure, right? So it hasn't cleaned the slate overnight. So really, really important. So, making sure that you're looking for the right nutritional advice, you're not going for these trends, and you're getting that sleep. To increase your mental bandwidth, it's going to make a hell of a difference to the way that you feel very, very quickly. And then the final thing I'll just say, I do focus on repairing key systems, but initially what you're going to feel from just those habits that I mentioned and what to focus on, you're going to start to feel that your energy is increasing. You're feeling less stressed. There's less anxiety. You feel like you've got more capacity to get more done. There's a sense of, I can do this, right? I'm on top of this now and I'm not feeling so overwhelmed by it. What's the next thing? And so then we have to do the deeper work to repair those systems that are controlling your energy and stress tolerance, right? So just increasing your capacity all over to handle everything that you have on your plate, and not just handle it, but really take you to that next level, like really increasing your performance. So whatever you've got on your plate, you can get through it without feeling completely exhausted and burnt out. Oh, without feeling just spent at the end of the day, right? Having energy at the end of the day as well. So this is you're feeling at that stage and you're like, I don't know what to do first. I would start on those habits that I talked about, no caffeine on an empty stomach, getting some sunlight in the morning, having a healthy breakfast within 20 minutes of rising. So breakfast before caffeine, don't look at your phone. Very simple things, okay? But stacked on top of each other will make a difference. So I'd love you to leave me a comment below. What have you already tried to fix your exhaustion? Have you tried extreme diets and fasting or supplements in order to shift it and it hasn't? And what would be the first habit that you would try from here?